Hello, hello. It's me once again, and it is October, my favorite month. It's still technically October, which I'm kind of disappointed by the fact that time is flying by so quickly. Which, whenever you get to be an incredibly old man who's almost in his 40s, so basically dead. I'm basically dead already. I'm not in my 40s, but oh, it's getting close. I can smell my death around the corner because I'm so old. So old! Anyways, it is October. It is my favorite month of the year. The primary reason why it's my favorite month of the year actually has nothing at all to do with Halloween, although Halloween is a nice little bonus. The main reason why I like it the most is because of the seasonal changes, which is sort of a boring reason, but it's my reason. It's a very farmer reason, I guess. I'm not going to be talking about the weather this particular... Don't worry, I'm not going to be talking about the weather. I might talk about the weather a little bit. The weather is a fun thing to talk about. Actually, I might talk about the weather more than anything else in this video. I don't know. Because whenever I started this video, I thought to myself, I don't know what the hell I'm going to talk about. And then I thought about it. And then I thought up sort of a loose topic in the sense of what I've been doing lately and what I've been thinking about relative to that. And relative to that would probably be the idea of crafting a world around you. That will make more sense over time. But for now, I wanted to briefly mention I will be drawing Winnie, which technically might be a character from Ghoul School, the old Scooby-Doo property. I've actually done an art gripe on her, maybe 2 or 3, I don't know. Actually, yeah, I've done 2. I may have done 4 or 5. I don't know. We'll find out later, I guess. But Winnie's one of those little comfort characters that I like to draw. And I especially like to draw her at least once a year during Halloween or, something around that time frame, I guess. It doesn't have to be Halloween. So the way that I draw her, she looks almost nothing like her actual depiction, of course. She's become just a fan character that sort of exists within the zeitgeist of the artistic community, and pretty much nothing else. I did all of this on stream, so if this seems familiar to you, you may have been there, who knows. But my general premise was, I just want to draw Winnie. I want to draw her doing something intimate. Just intimate in the sense of hand-holding, being pet on the head, or, just one of those little perverted pornographic things that I like to draw. So to that end, I thought I also would like to give her a tremendously large ass. I said that on stream, and then someone subscribed because I said it. They gave me money for that. Can you believe it? It's disgusting. But that's what my goal in this was. So here I am just going through different primaries, just trying to make sense of it. And I wanted to talk about that briefly here just because in a moment I'm going to go back over this primary, I remember, and make it look like a horrifying abomination for a while. Because one thing that happens whenever you're drawing a picture, sometimes, not always, sometimes, is you will start drawing the picture, and then you will completely lose your sense of all geometry because you've been staring at nothing, like this squiggly lines for so long, that you sort of lose perspective on what the hell it is that you're even doing anymore. And at that point, you sort of have to give up on your brain doing anything of its own volition, and either very liberally use a resource and just sort of, not trace, but, go over that geometry instead, or do what I end up doing, and that is lose my mind completely and start making very hard edges where I completely, here I go, try to create central points for every single bit of the geometry just to try to force there into being some sense of a model for me to work around. And I will end up using none of these lines, of course, but it's just something to try to force my brain to work good. Because it often chooses not to. Because I lose my mind quite easily. Okay. So, Winnie. Oh, goodness. Winnie. I can't really describe exactly why it is that I find her a comforting character in any way. I guess it's because of her personality. The personality that I have in my head, anyways. Hopefully it's conveyed well, but the general premise with her, I find that whenever I draw her, is just that she's just a fun-loving girl. There's nothing really... I think even one of my old art gripes was just entitled Winnie is Uncomplicated, I think it was. But the general premise with her is just that there's just not much to her beyond the fact that she just enjoys being alive. And she wants to have fun with you. And that's it. That's all that's really going on with her. She doesn't have a complicated, sad backstory. There's no, like, horrible tragedies in her life or anything. She's just there to be a good friend, and that's what she does. Because, you know, sort of conveying that aspects of... she's not a dog girl, you know, she's supposed to be a werewolf. But, you know, canine. Canine things, right? Yeah, canine. So that's the general idea with Winnie. And that's the reason why whenever I draw her, it's like, oh, that's pleasant. Because even though I do enjoy... I was talking about this in a stream whenever I was drawing this. But my favorite emotion to sort of convey is probably melancholy. Just because I enjoy the... I guess dichotomy of sadness coming with happiness at the same time. And a lot of my images will either try... A lot of my images are trying to convey some sort of intimate emotion. Because I've described this in the past as I enjoy drawing emotional pornography, I think I described it as. Which I tried to describe that in a way that makes it sound humorous because I'm such a funny guy. But the general sentiment is there. The idea is that I like trying... I've always been like this. I like trying to get emotions out of people. Not necessarily good, bad, negative. I just enjoy creating things. And that's the reason why I originally got into writing and started writing books, is just because I enjoy trying to get people to find value in the fictional, which in turn allows them to find value within themselves and the world around them, I guess. And even though I can't really do that anymore, you know, writing is it's a time-consuming project. I don't have time to do that anymore. I can at least sort of do that with my drawings. It's not quite the same thing, but, you know, it's kind of close. I've always envied musicians' ability to convey ideas and create emotions and things out of just sound. They don't need words. They don't need to have a shared language with whoever is listening to it. You can create that out of nothing using very simple methods. But whenever I think about that, I also think that drawing has the same effect. You can do the same thing with drawing. Something like this, for example, once it's done. You don't have a complete image yet, but once this is done, I feel like anyone that looks at the image can look at it and go, ah, I understand. It has a universal appeal. Everyone can look at it and go, oh, the person that drew this is like some sort of freak, right? Yeah, and then everyone knows exactly what's going on. It's very easy to tell what exactly is going on with any one single picture. It's just that easy. So, anyways, my favorite month of the year, October, is my favorite month of the year, mainly because I despise the heat. I've always been very cold-natured. I don't like the heat at all. I've always preferred being cold. Anytime that I'm like cold, and the best feeling in the world to me, maybe not the world, but one of the best feelings is lying down in bed, falling asleep, but it being very cold, and the sheets are cold, but also like I have an Afghan in bedspread, and with those on top of you, it traps the heat and insulates you. So you get this nice little sandwich of lying in a very cold bed, but having it be warm at the same time. Especially if you put like a heated blanket or something on top of yourself at the same time. It's like being It's like jumping in the spa and running around outdoors at the same time in the middle of the freezing cold. And there's stuff like that. I enjoy extremes. I've never been one for sort of I don't know, intermediates, I guess. I always enjoy exaggerating things, whether it's for comedy or whether it's artistic stuff. I've described it in the past, but whenever I draw, sort of the central tenet of the reason why things look the way that they do with me is that I'm trying to take the proportionality of the figures that I'm working with and draw them in such a way that it exaggerates the best aspects of the ratios of their proportions. Like Winnie, for example, here, of course she's going to end up with an hourglass figure, blah, blah, blah. But I'm trying to, like, this would look fine on its own, but I'm trying my best to emphasize all the right spots at just the right sizes. Because some people will draw like big boobs, and I've officially never really been that big into large chests, but you know they're fine, I guess. I've always been a proportion person myself. But people that draw big boobs will sometimes just draw outlandishly huge boobs, and I don't really like the look of it. They become so large that they just stop looking realistic. They just are inflated objects that just sort of exist. There's no weight or realism to them, and as a result, it no longer has any appeal to me. You'd be probably hard-pressed to find a picture that I've drawn that has boobs that look like, on the model anyways, for the art style. In realistic terms, the honkers that I've given Winnie here are a little out of hand compared to what normal people would have, I should say. But just in terms of the style that I'm working in, they look more or less, you know, normalized, I suppose. Again, it depends on what style they're using. But I do try to not hit an intermediate range that looks too normalized with whatever proportions I'm working with. If I draw someone that's slender, I like drawing them not anorexic or anything, but, you know, just slender to the point that you can... that it emphasizes, here I am, the S and the F is like, do I want it standard or do I want it flipped? Because I was asking stream which mirrored version looks better. Anyways, so whenever I'm drawing proportions, I just want to make sure that everything looks nice and mildly exaggerated, but not so exaggerated that it completely falls out of line of reality, if that makes any sense. But I've talked about all that before, who cares? Point being is that the cold rules. I love the cold. If I had a choice, I would definitely live somewhere that was a little bit colder than it is here. Because here, it does get cold, but only very briefly during mainly January and February. And then it gets way too cold. It's not a fun cold, it's just this very... how to put it? It's a very biting cold. There's a lot of like moisture in the air, and you sort of freeze. And most of it comes from the wind, which is not pleasant. It's not the actual air. So it's more the world is stealing your heat so much. That's more what it is. The world is stealing your heat. It's not that the world is cold and you're enjoying it. It's that the world knows that you have the heat, and it wants to rob you of it, because it's a bastard. That's what it's like living here. I would rather live someplace where it's just nice and chill, right? Yeah. That's the sort of stream atmosphere you should try to cultivate too. This, what I originally was thinking about. With the release of my latest animation, I decided... I don't know how it did, but whenever it first released, it didn't do very well at all. And especially the past couple years, I've had this realization that... maybe you're tired of hearing about this, I don't know. I've had this realization that I am not making enough money to really support myself in the long term, especially as I get older. Like, I'm getting to where I probably need to go see a doctor, but I realized, well, I really shouldn't because, money, etc. And I never really mention the Patreon too much beyond just saying that it exists. I don't have a call to action where I tell people, go donate to the Patreon or anything. Because I've always been the kind of person that I hate money. I don't like thinking about it. I don't like what it does to people. I've been all over that before. Who cares? Even now, I'm trying to talk about it, but I'm just trying to rush through it because I don't really care to talk about it. But I'm just like that. I don't like thinking about it. If I could somehow just have the exact amount of money I needed to live every year, and I just had assurances of that, then I would be fine. Like, if I was a millionaire, for God knows what reason, if the angels descended from on high and gave me a Happy Meal and $400 billion, and I would be like, thanks for having me on. Why you gave me? I haven't had one of these in 30 years. But thanks for the money. And that they leave. And then after that, I have the money. I would just keep doing what I'm doing now. Maybe not so much the animations, because I actually kind of hate animating. And honestly, as I have seen, there's not much of an actual benefit to animating. People do remember you for it, like the Pokemon animation is probably the most famous thing that I've done here lately. It depends on what year that you're asking. For a while, it was the Dark Souls animation. Even before that, it was probably just like more just fan content that I've done around. Memes, stuff like that. It all changed through the years. Who cares? But people are aware that I do those things, but most people don't care. I just don't really matter. It's one of those things with content creation. You will exist in the sort of zeitgeist, or however you want to put it. People will be aware of you, but they won't care whether you exist or not. You're just something that's sort of in the background of people's minds of, if they see that video or they hear that name, then they'll think, oh, yeah, I recognize that name from somewhere. Where is that? And then it might take them a minute, and they'll be like, oh yeah, that thing. Then they'll forget it. It's just one of those things. You don't care about everyone that you see online. And why would you? That's just the natural state of making anything online. There's no lamentation there. But in other words, in terms of making a living, the animations help with some level of visibility, and I'm glad that people enjoy them. But they do not put bread on the table. YouTube, certainly, assuming I even had YouTube monetized, which I probably never should have turned YouTube monetization off, but it was something that sounded like a good idea at the time. I probably lost out on a lot of money doing that I didn't need to. But I thought, if I do this, then it'll probably engender some goodwill towards me to do that. But didn't go that far. Plus, I don't like ads in the first place, so I was sort of delighted. Really, that was more it. It was, I hated the YouTube goblin, or whatever I called him. And I was really happy to just turn that off so that YouTube would stop making money off my videos. That's mainly what it was. I just didn't like YouTube. And that's probably still the case. But I also, I also would like money to live, so... maybe it was a bad idea in the long run to turn those off out of spite. I don't know. But anyways, point being, lately, as a result, I've been thinking more and more about how to make money that is more reliable than what I'm doing now, because what I do now is not reliable whatsoever. It is very dangerous to try to make money doing art videos and animations on YouTube. I would not recommend it to anyone. It is not profitable. You will not grow. You might find this is the, like, I love you guys because you are like watching this or listening to this more likely. I'm certainly glad that you enjoy the sound of my voice as you sit there playing whatever video game you're doing. Kingdom Crusaders 3 or something. I don't know what you I don't know what you guys play. But I appreciate the fact that you're actually listening to me. The people that listen to these videos are probably my core audience. So you're the people I care the most about. You're the ones that have supported me over the years. You're the ones that enable me to just be alive in the first place. If I had not gotten the Patreon originally and gotten my life to be better that way, I have no idea what I would have done. I was actually contemplating being a hobo for a solid minute there, because I just had absolutely no clue what I was going to do with my life, because nothing was working out. And I was trying very hard at a lot of different things, but nothing was happening. It's just one of those things. I was telling someone, actually, I'm getting off track, but this came to mind. It was a Discord conversation, I think. Someone was worried about the future because they were young, they're getting out of high school, and they didn't know what to do with themselves. And it's an incredibly common problem. But their issue was that they didn't know what to do with themselves, they didn't have any plans, and they were in a panic because they had no idea what direction to go in. And I told them what I know now, of course, and I even knew them, but you still don't have to like it. And that lesson is, the world will keep going. It will not be the death of you. You'll be absolutely fine. You will find a way to be just fine. And a lot of your formative years in your 20s are going to be spent finding ways to enjoy being alive and just growing as a person until things just so happen to work out sometime in your late 20s or 30s, or maybe it could be just into your 50s or something, you know, who knows. Point being is that life always goes on. It's like losing a very close loved one or something. And it's very common for, I don't know why I'm getting off on this, but it's very common for people to sort of hold spite for the world in a way whenever they lose someone that's very close to them, because they look around and the world just keeps on turning and people go about their daily business. People continue hanging out with their friends and laughing and having a good time and going out to eat, enjoying themselves that way, playing video games, whatever. And everything is just normalized around you. Even though, to you, if you're the one affected by it, it seems like it's just the end of everything, because that was such a vital component to your life. And it's like the world itself just doesn't care. And that's, I guess, that is just how the world works, and that's how people work, and that's how you work. We all sort of reach that threshold of just continuing to be alive. And all of our little worries and values and the things that we consider to be so vital to the essence of being ourselves and trying to find our place in the world, really just, you know, it's not that they don't matter, but they're secondary to existing and just continuing to exist as the biological entities that we are, I guess. Anyways, so I was trying to make money. So that's the reason why I decided, you know what, I'm going to get back into streaming. I don't care that my stream drops 10% packets on some days. Some days it drops 20, some days it drops 50, some days it drops 90% of frames, which is, that means the internet does not work. But I decided I don't care. I'm going to try my best to stream consistently, and I'm going to try to grow that channel, because I need to be able to feel like I'm making some sort of progress in my life. I need to be able to find a new source of income, and more importantly, I need something that's more consistently in people's field of vision than making YouTube animations, because that's the main problem with making YouTube animations. It's not that people don't like them, it's that the things that, like, you know that there was a Twitch thing lately where supposedly people's incomes got leaked, you know, stuff like that. Whether it was true or not, I don't know. A lot of people said that the figures were completely wrong. Some people said they were very close. I don't care. That's not the point. But I was looking at that, and I didn't have the realization, but I had the reawakening to the knowledge that what people consider to be normal income to me has always seemed like being rich. Like just making $100,000 a year to some people would be like, well, yeah, you need to make $100,000 a year in order to survive and, wherever. Like if you live in New York, I don't know how much money you actually need to just exist as a person in New York. It's probably much higher in cities. I have no idea. That's completely beyond my reckoning. But me, I've always lived on before I got the Patreon, of course, I lived on usually about $5,000 a year. Just, very low amount of money. After the Patreon, somewhere within the realm of like 17K to, 25K usually. In some good years, it would rise above 30 briefly. And whenever it rised above 30, I was like, wow, I'm like rich now, right? Because, for this area, then yeah, you're not rich, but you can actually provide for yourself, which is kind of rare, and depending on where you live. And here it's sort of rare sometimes. So I've never been wealthy. I've never really had much to speak of. And looking at all these figures, like some people making over like millions of dollars, and even the people at the very bottom of the list, even if that was a fictional list or whatever, it doesn't matter. I just had this sort of thought of, this is normal to people. It's like it should be normal for me to make $50,000, because I've always sort of looked down on myself and the idea of me ever making too much money is how I think about it in my head. Seems like something that I shouldn't do, or something that I should not want, just because that's how I've always been, I guess. And I thought, I need to get out of that. Like, I need to actually... It's not even like an insecurity thing where I look down on myself. It's just... I've been used to not having for so long that the thought of me having something never really occurs to me, so I don't try for it. Like, I'm so used to... I guess, to failing to have better circumstances that I've learned to not try to have better circumstances. That may not make too much sense, and I'm not going to go over my whole life story to try to explain it. I could, but I'm not going to. It doesn't really matter. But that's the reason why I decided to try to make myself a better life. And doing the Twitch thing is one avenue that I can take in that regard. Here we go with hatching. I like hatching in Clip Studio Paint because the brushes there are a little bit easier to work with than they are in Paint Tool Sci. I've gotten to where lately I've been doing my drafts in Sci and then porting it over to Clip Studio Paint, just because the brushes are a little bit easier to work with there. As Sci has good brushes, sort of, but they're very limited. It's hard to explain, and just take my word for it. It's cool. It's cool, man. It's cool. Anyways, another idea that I've had. Another idea that I have had is a podcast. I know Paige has been harping on me to start one with her and Pat, since we're so rambunctious together, and people like watching us. But I also don't want to involve anyone that I know in something that involves money, because again, I always know what money does to things and to people and relationships. I don't like that. I don't like dealing with it. The idea makes me feel sort of nauseated. So I don't know. Plus, I don't even know if anyone would even show up. Like, sure, other people's podcasts might make a lot of money. Supposedly, if I made a podcast, I would probably be making more in a few months than I do in an entire year, potentially, depending on whether or not advertisers even choose to run ads. That's the main thing. You don't make any money doing a podcast unless advertisers decide that they want to, give you money. And according to Wooly, that is something that typically happens very quickly. Like you'll air your first podcast, and if a lot of people show up, then something happens. The magical internet wizards see that something has transpired, and they want to know, who the fuck are you? Why are so many people showing up to your podcast? And then they'll look into you, and then after they do that, then there's some sort of service that you get put onto where advertisers know that you exist and know how many people go through and listen to you. So they'll just say, all right, we'll give you money if you say cornflakes is no longer an anti-masturbatory aid or whatever. Sorry, Kellogg's. Sorry. That's what it was. That's why they invented it. Go look it up. Mr. Kellogg invented cornflakes as an anti-masturbatory aid. Why are people so surprised by this? Anyways. So, as a result, that's how money is made doing podcasts. Otherwise, if people listen to something, and it's sort of like making an animation on YouTube. If 4 or 5 million people watch an animation, you don't make any money off that. People enjoying your creation doesn't make you money. People giving you money is what makes you money. And corporations are way more frivolous with their money than an individual is. Like if I had 100,000 people give me $1 a year. Like, think of that. Just if 100,000, more than 100,000 people have enjoyed what I do. Like, that's not a problem. Finding the people. If just 100,000 people donated to me $1 a year, not even a month, just a year, an entire year. If each one of them just dropped a dollar bill on the street and I found them all, then it would be enough to make me feel like I'm incredibly wealthy. Like I wouldn't know what to do with that much money. I would continue doing what I'm doing, but but because of the fact that it's on Patreon, people don't want to go through the hassle of setting up a thing and worrying about all that nonsense. People just don't do it. So a lot of people will, even though I wasn't streaming on Twitch at the time, would use my Twitch to get a subscription there, because that was their way of helping me out without actually using the Patreon, because they didn't want to use Patreon for whatever the reasons. Because Twitch is much easier to use in many ways. Primarily because you're using it for a service anyways, whereas Patreon, you'll go there like once and then just never think about it ever again in some cases. Whereas Twitch, if you're actually using Twitch, then you're using it. You're watching people's contents. Their contents, like their innards. You're watching their content. And because you get into the habit of using it everywhere, then it's very simple for you to just click a subscription button and you're done. You don't have to worry about it anymore. So I'm trying to grow the subscriptions for that reason. But more to the point, the reason why I brought that up is because you become more ingrained in people's daily lives if you're doing something like a Twitch stream or a podcast. Whereas if you're just making content, making a video like once a year or something, once a month, once a week even, then that's just, content. And especially even with like YouTube content, it's way more impersonal. Even if you're doing something like making really interesting scientific videos or informational videos or something that people really enjoy watching, then they may not bother giving you money. They might just see it as just something that they get to enjoy ever so often, and that's all the thought that they put into it, which is not their fault. That's just, the world continues to turn. It's just that, again. You can't live your life trying to blame the world around you for working the way it does, or blaming human behavior for what it is. You have to work with it. You have to work around it. You have to try to be clever about how you approach things like that. So coming to an understanding that doing this sort of work is not going to be financially profitable most of the time is probably the best route to take. I feel like the people that make the most off YouTube are either streamers, like people that stream on YouTube, or they are people that just really, really, not hassle, but, you know, they're really on the ball about making sure to tell people, hey, subscribe, hit that bell. Like, that's a joke, but there's a reason why people do it, and they do it because that's the only way to, you know, get the algorithm moving to get themselves more visibility. Like, they're putting the work in. They're hustling, I guess, as people like to say. They put the hustle in. And by the way, Winnie's shirt, I could not for the life of me choose a color. And you'll see that adventure unfold in the future. So they put the hustle in. And because they put the hustle in, and they make sure to tell people, hey, subscribe, give me money. Like, they just constantly are saying, give me money, which is something obviously I've always had trouble doing. Then they get the money because they remind people, hey, this thing exists. I would appreciate it if you help me out. And they're not even being, like, aggressive about it. And to me, that's just such an embarrassing and humiliating thing for me to do, because that's my crummy personality that I got. That is very difficult to pull that off. I struggle very greatly on reminding people to do that. But anyways, I'm doing it now. But I'm not saying go donate to my Patreon or anything. I'm just saying that's what I've been doing lately. This is all supposed to have been set up. I just started thinking about this other stuff. And by the way, the colors that she's wearing right now, shit, she's really awesome. But that green shirt, it made her look exactly like the color scheme of, what's her name? Roxanne from the Goofy movie, where she had the green shirt and all. Anyways, or maybe I'm thinking of Lois Griffin. Oh my god. Anyways. Now let's just say Roxanne. That sounds better. Okay, so, in attempting to do the Twitch route, I've been thinking a lot lately. This is the thing I wanted to actually talk about. I'm so sorry it's taking me 40 minutes, oh my god, to get to this point. Oh my god. In trying to create a Twitch channel that people actually like going to, the thing I've been worried about the most, of course, has been my internet connection. Most people don't have to worry about that too much. They just have to worry about streaming consistently. But I have to worry about all the stream stuff, and I have to worry about the fact that I live in bumfuck nowhere. The main reason why I've been trying to improve my life lately is because I want to move to get better internet, but in order to move, I need to make more money. So I can move, but in order to make more money, I need to be able to have better internet to stream consistently. And even if I wanted to do a podcast, like you guys probably can't. You can if you go listen to my Picardo things where I watch Star Trek with Paige and Pat, because you can actually hear what their Discord calls sound like to me. This is one way you can do it. And it sounds like garbage. Like they go in and out all the time. You can often barely understand what the hell they're saying. It just sounds like crap. So the idea of me doing a podcast, I'm sure lots of people are like, yeah, do a podcast, fuck it. I'll listen to a podcast. I'm sure that you would, but actually making the podcast would be an absolute nightmare for me, because I can't understand what people are saying on Discord most of the time, because my internet connection is that bad. It drops packets so much that even if I used there's differences between voice call things. Discord, the call remains online for a long time, even if you lose packets, but it sounds like garbage. Whereas if you do something like a Steam call, Steam does have a voice chat, oddly enough. If you use that, it sounds way better, but the moment that you drop too many packets, it will lie and say that you're still connected, but the other person will just go away. It'll just lose the connection entirely, and it won't bother trying to reconnect. And lots of other voice chats do the same thing. It sucks. It sucks a lot. So even that, I need better internet just to have consistent voice chat if I wanted to do a podcast. It's absolutely nuts. I hate thinking about it. I hate talking about it. So let's move on from that. Anyways, in trying to create an atmosphere on Twitch that people want to be around, the thing that I've been concerned about lately is not necessarily my image, but the presentation of how I interact with people. Like in these art gripes, I think that's more or less what I want, because the art gripes are just me being me. This is more my actual personality. These are far more calm. They aren't crazy and frantic. They're very approachable. I'm being very frank. I'm frank. Sorry, I don't know why I did that. They're very frank. I try to be very upfront. I don't try to be wacky and crazy and funny. I'm just, just doing my own thing. And I think that works very well for a stream atmosphere. I try to be a little bit more engaging and funny on stream, but, just that's the general premise. Whereas if I'm making YouTube videos, I have to put on more of the character, of course. I've talked about this before. I have to be more exaggerated, and I have to seem angrier about things, and more perverse and strange, and the character of, like, Farmer Plague is something that's carried me through the years, certainly. But it's about time for it to be retired, especially considering I don't really even do farming anymore of any kind. Our family farm sort of bit the big one a few years ago anyways. We ran into financial problems that we weren't able to recover from because someone did not repair a piece of equipment the way that they should have, which resulted in our combine sort of exploding. But anyways, I'm not saying that I'm going to just be the cat avatar man anymore or anything like that. It's just my branding needs to change, is what I'm getting at. And I feel like the whole creepy farmer thing puts people off so much, the people that don't know me, that it makes it really hard to overcome that hurdle. Because a lot of people just, I can tell they don't want to interact with me because they think that I'm like the crazy, creepy, like online pervert man that sexualized the Pokemon, that sort of thing. Whereas those things are true. I did do that. That is the thing that I did. I did those wicked deeds. But obviously I'm not quite that person. But even though that is funny to do on the YouTube. So having something that's more approachable is what I'm really aiming for. And even on stream, I would like to create more of an atmosphere it's very pleasant to just sort of be there. Like whenever I was drawing this picture, this sort of brought this to mind originally. Whenever I was doing this, I was just sitting there with the cat avatar off. I wasn't using it. No face cam. Just working in the exact frame that you see here. Like, they could see Clip Studio Paint, me drawing. And we were just sitting there listening to video game music from, like, Chrono Trigger and Final Fantasies and Halo. And I tried playing Braid very briefly, but for some reason Braid's music triggered Twitch's mute protocols for some reason. I don't know why Braid, of all things, specifically, but no more Braid. But I just enjoy having very chill streams where you just sit down, relax, kind of shut your brain off, and kind of listen to something in the background. And I don't talk too much. If people want to have a conversation, I'll try to engage, but otherwise, it's just nice just to sit there and listen to the music. But even whenever I'm playing a game, I would prefer it to be sort of like that. I actually kind of don't like playing games on Twitch in a very strange way. Primarily because I almost never actually get angry in real life. There's almost nothing that I get angry about other than too much noise, people being disrespectful, I guess. Abusing animals, certainly. That's one of my hot little buttons. And, video games is pretty much it. Video games send me up a wall, and I don't really like the way that I behave whenever I get angry at video games. So anytime that someone wants me to play something that I know is going to get me riled up, then I definitely try to avoid it. Like, some people were asking me what my opinion of Metroid Dread was, and I had to try to skirt away from it because I really didn't enjoy Metroid Dread. I never even completed it. Probably might not go back to it, I don't know. But briefly, if you're wondering about Metroid Dread, I just don't like anything that is mechanical in nature. I think in the last one I talked about this with Paige. But like shmuppy things. Yeah, because we were talking about Undertale. I just don't like anything that is very centered around this thing happened on the screen. Within 30 frames, you need to press these buttons or else something's not going to work. And Metroid games are all about that. Like even doing something like a Shine Spark where you need to get like a missile tank, so you have to run a very short length of time, like the perfect frame window, in order to get the Shine Spark to activate, because you have to run a certain amount of time or else it can't be activated. And then you have to do it on that frame or else you will fall off a ledge and have to reset and do it all over again. And then after you activate it, you have to like go through a door and slide through a hole in the wall, drop down, and in midair shoot some blocks. And then also in midair, hold your hand off the stick to keep it neutral, because if you use it otherwise, then it won't come out. Use a mid-air button combination in order to cause the Shine Spark to activate. Press another direction, go up a ramp, which if you touch will cause you to slide back down. And then once you get up there, if you can't tell, you might know exactly what I'm talking about. I was trying to get the, I forget what upgrade it was even. It doesn't matter. Anyways, then you like get to the top of this other thing, and you actually have to do 2 more Shine Sparks. So you have to like run forward while also initiating another Shine Spark, which you have already lost, but somehow you can like carry over your progress or something. But you have to slide under another thing and then reinitiate it. And this is all occurring within the, like this whole thing that I'm talking about has occurred in the space of like 2 minutes, not 2 minutes, like 2, I was about to say 2/10, but it's like this 1/5, you idiot. 1/5 of a minute. Yeah, it's just a very short span of time. So you slide under that, reinitiate the Shine Spark, fall down, avoid hitting the water, because if you do that, then it'll also fuck you up. Reinitiate the Shine Spark again after you have zoomed up at a diagonal angle, and then after you have like saved the Shine Spark, you reinitiate it, and then fall back down, and then on a specific frame, you reinitialize it again so that you can go through a wall that cannot be penetrated unless you are specifically Shine Sparking. I hate that shit. Like, even whenever I managed to pull it off, there were actually a few things I did manage to... Like, I managed to sequence break quite a few things in Dread that me with my old man hands probably should not have been able to do. But I managed to do them. Even after I succeed at doing things like that, like some very specific, like if it was like a fighting game command or something, like if I had to do the pretzel, you probably know what that is. But if I had to do like the pretzel motion, if given enough time, I might be able to pull it off. But even after I pull it off, then like a lot of people would be like, yeah, fuck yeah, I did it. Me, I just shut off, and I'm like, I hated doing that. I never want to do it again. I'm glad it's over. That was miserable. Like this, I'm just that way when it comes to video games. Point being, whenever I play the video game on the Twitch, I would like it to be something that is relaxing, that I don't have to confront too much, and has not too much mechanical stuff going on, because while it might be funny to watch man be angry at clouds, God, I hate the way that I get whenever I get angry at a video game. I really don't like it. Because then I have to find problems with it. I have to analyze them. I have to break it down, or else people won't understand. Oh, I hate it. It's just so awful. Anyways, point being, cultivating atmosphere. When it comes to cultivating atmosphere, the thing that I want the most is for things to be chill and cool and very relaxing and approachable, with no craziness in between. Now, I originally wanted to talk about this because I thought whenever I began the video that it was going to loop back in to the concept of creating like imagery in narrative and in visuals and stuff like that. Kind of lost the thread of that one, unfortunately. But that is what I was trying to talk about. Because with this picture, and actually it's a little bit more fitting that I start talking about it here, because whenever I start drawing the background, which I think it's still got a ways to go. Oh my god, how much time is left in this video? Holy fuck. Whenever I actually start the background, then I start worrying more about what the atmosphere of the image is. Like right now, it's just Winnie's holding out her hand. She's a pretty freak of nature. The pretty furry. And that's really all there is to it right now. Here we go, background. So it's sort of vital to get the lighting right on these images. Like whenever I draw something, and I say that I draw emotional pornography, or whatever the hell it was that I said, a lot of that comes down to not what the drawing looks like, not the line work, even though the line work is what I'm known for. It's the choice of colors, and it is the choice of atmosphere that you create. I really wish I was a better painter. I'm a terrible painter. I can't paint worth a flip. It would serve me so well, because that's the thing that I really like trying to do in these pictures, is create this sort of atmosphere. A lot of it is color choice, and a lot of it is finding ways of creating a narrative in the image. I think that's probably one of the most important. If you're just drawing for the sake of like having fun, that's great. That should be the primary focus of anyone that's doing anything in relation to drawing. But if your drawing is like trying to make a piece or something, then I would say the most important thing to do if you're making something that elaborate is to try your best to create narrative with the image. And that's one of the reasons why I always have like an outstretched hand or something. It's because I'm trying to present it from a point of view of the viewer, so that it forces the person into that role, and they actually have to sort of view it from their own perspective, rather than just look at it and then discard it. It can be uncomfortable, especially for someone that's not into this specific sort of picture. So I definitely get that. But it is completely necessary if you're going to try to provoke someone into engaging with a drawing, rather than just scrolling past it. It's just one of those sort of things. So with the background, the thing I think about the most with this picture is something that we haven't gotten to yet, and it's just, once I get all the little blossoms and stuff done, which I like the blossoms. That was my original sort of idea of trying to make the image look more peaceful. Like, sure, she wants your hand, because she's just, you know, living life, enjoying herself. That's Winnie's character. But she, like the environment around her, I want to also carry that same sentiment that the world is at peace, there's no confrontation, everything is pleasant. Like, this is not necessarily romantic or anything, but this is just a very simple moment. That's probably one of the most core aspects to my character, is just I enjoy just having incredibly simplistic moments. One of the things I was talking about on stream with people was one of my pastimes, I described it as, is just going out in the yard and just standing there, like listening to music or something. Like just walking around the yard, having a trail of almost semi-feral farm cats behind me that like to approach but not too close. And just being outside in nice weather. This is one of the reasons why I love October, because it's just the right temperature. And just enjoying listening to music or podcast or whatever, and just meandering about, just existing. That's one of the things I love doing more than anything, just doing something simple as that. That shouldn't be too uncommon. So whenever I'm looking for like houses or something, one of the core things that I want is to not be around people, because I can't walk around outside if there's a house to my left and a house to my right and a road in front of me. And even if I have a backyard, I don't want to feel like I'm walking inside of a cage. And there's been some cases where I look outside of where the back is, and there's a big open field. And I think, oh, a field's nice. A field's like where I live now. There's a field in front of me. There's a field to my right. There's a field behind me. And there's a forest to my left. Currently, based on how I'm sitting. There's also a road. Don't worry. Like, there's a road I can drive. What the hell was I talking about? Oh, yeah. So I can walk around. But there's a field, but if I lived near people and I started walking around in the middle of an open field, a lot of people would be like, oh, he's weird. What's he doing? And then people would show up wanting to know what the hell I'm doing walking around in this field, wondering if I'm okay or if I'm like a crazed murderer because I'm acting strange. I just want to be left alone. I just want to walk. I want to walk around with a trail of cats behind me because I enjoy doing it. That's it. That's as simple as it is. I'm a very simple person. I don't need much money besides medical expenses and the ability to just buy a house that's away from people. Even if it's a very tiny, crummy little house, which it most assuredly would be. Because I don't have any use for a big house, other than finally having an office that isn't my bedroom. But anyways. But point being, in the creation of this image, putting all the sort of sakura blossoms, the cherry trees in the background, was part of that. Blowing out the image with lighting, it doesn't get this abrasive. I tone it down some. But having a lot of focus on lights and sort of the shine and general softness to the feeling. Like I made a conscious effort to try to avoid using deep shadows with this picture, because I really wanted it to look very soft and inviting and non-threatening. And even like trying to show the shine through the implication that there's trees, leaves back there. Even that. But the thing that I like the most in this picture is what I do at the very end, which is next to nothing. And here I'll play with the colors for a while. But I decided to just add a little bit of like rain. Like not much of it, just like one or two little sprinkles coming down. And for some reason, that above everything else, here they are. There they are. It's my boys. And my girls. Just adding that little thing for some reason is my favorite little bit. Just because the extra implication that there's just some very light rain, for some reason, personally makes me feel that much more sort of put at ease. And I can't really express why that is. I guess it's because I just hate the hot weather. Maybe that's what it is. I really don't like hot weather, and just the knowledge that it's raining or it has high... That's probably more what it is. Not that it's raining. It's more that if it is showering a little bit, you know that it's probably... There's probably some high cloud cover going on. And because of that, even though it's very soft lighting and well lit well enough, you still get the idea that you're probably isolated and at peace, I guess. That's what the rain means to me. Like light rain, I always synonymize with that. Even whenever I'm trying to go to sleep, I'll I have a downloaded, like, 13 or something hour track of nothing but storm sounds, so I can wake up and for like a brief moment, whenever I wake up, I get to have the sensation of thinking that it's actually raining. And for some reason that always makes me feel good to be able to know that the world is carrying on in a way that isolates me a little bit more. I've said it before, but the best time of day is the time that belongs to you and no one else, which is why I've always liked the night. I like being awake during the middle of the night because no one else is up. That's my time, because I know that no one else is using it. Same thing with like rain or snow. I've always liked, or even darkness of all things. Like I'm fine with just walking around in the middle of the night in pitch blackness because I'm a weirdo, but also because I know that most people would not do that. So that belongs to me. That's mine. I enjoy being a weirdo in that way. It's okay to be strange. Anyways, hope you've enjoyed my strange video. That is my picture. This is Winnie. Say goodbye, Winnie. And if you're going to take my daughter's hand, you make sure to treat her right, okay? Alright. So I'll see you guys sometime in the future. Donate to my Patreon. I'm just kidding. But go check out my Twitch. I've been fairly good about streaming on a regular basis. The only time I've really missed it is whenever I've been doing stuff like this, making content for YouTube, doing big elaborate drawings, or when the internet has just been out. So I've been pretty consistent about it, and I want to keep doing that. The larger scale, like animation stuff on YouTube, will probably slow down a considerable amount, if not stop entirely. I hope, because it is my dream to never have to animate ever again unless I want to. Even though that's probably the thing I'm known the most for. But if you want to encourage me to make a better life for myself, then good on you. If you don't, and you want my life to be worse so that you can enjoy animations, go fuck yourself. No, you're fine too. But I do want to improve my life for the better. Everyone should. Don't let other people tell you what you can or can't do. If you need to do something to improve your life, and other people are unfortunately in the way, the world will keep turning regardless of them and regardless of you. Just keep waking up for another day, and keep trying to improve your life, and eventually it will improve, with the help of other people. So, take that hand. See you guys next time.